Hi, everyone. Welcome to SPS Live Virtual Tours and How It's Made. My name is Danielle Ornberger Hopkins. I'm the Assistant Director of Alumni Relations here at NYU School of Professional Studies, also known as NYU SPS. Today, we're so excited. We're here with Matt Schulte, who graduated in 2010 from the SPS Tisch Institute for Global Sport with his BS in Sports Management. He's been with the Kansas City Royals in the front office for over 10 years, and currently he's the senior manager of special events and promotions. And we're just so excited to get to speak with him today and be with him. So I also want to turn it over to Matt and just give, a brief introduction.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon from cloudy fall Kansas City. It's in the 40 degrees here. Apologies, I'm kind of in the dark myself, but I wanted you to see the stadium. So wanted to make that the focal point so you can see beautiful Kauffman Stadium more as opposed to me. But welcome. Excited to be a part of NYU Alumni Weekend. I'm going to run through kind of a 10 to 20 minute presentation about Royals giveaways, marketing, advertising, kind of give you a behind the scenes look of the thought process that we go through on a season by season basis. And then we'll do a quick little stadium tour. I'll show you just a couple of places around the ballpark. But this is one of the best ballparks in town, I think. So I'm going to share my screen here.
Matt, would you mind telling us where you are in the stadium?
Yeah. I'm in our Diamond Club area, which is the premium club. So I'm indoors right now, but I'm kind of inside. There's full season tickets in here. I'm sitting around kind of movie theater style seats that we input a couple of years ago as kind of a new concept, but there's waiters in here and food and all that. So these are one of the best seats in town, in Kauffman.
Oh, wow.
All right. So I'm going to first, Danielle, does that look okay?
Yep, you can go. Yep, there you go.
Okay, I'm going to first kind of show you about a 2-minute long hype video that we put together about a year ago that we show whether marketing people, sponsors, to kind of encapsulates the Royals brand.
7 division titles, 4 league championships, 2 World Series championships, and 1 heart-stopping, history-making wild card. They called it epic, amazing. The world didn't see it coming, but we did. How did the Royals build a world championship team in one of the smallest markets in all of sports, when nearly every expert routinely picked larger market teams to finish ahead of them? How does this happen? Because every day we write our future. Every day we decide to make what we do count. It really is that simple. This city, this region, this team doesn't merely get up, it rises. And these fans don't merely cheer. They've woven us into the fabric of their lives. They've seen for themselves how one swing of a bat can change everything. How you can beat the odds if you just keep the line moving. How putting we in front of me makes us all winners. And how giving back to a community is as important as claiming your place in its history. You can see it in our alleys and on our boulevards, on our playing fields and on our buildings, in our small towns, in our suburbs, and in our inner city. We can see it. We know exactly what it looks like, feels like, tastes like. No matter what, you will never see us quit, because that's how you make history. 1980, 1985, 2014, 2015, all achieved by aspiring to make a difference, by knowing the heart of Royals baseball is being part of a team, a family that puts everyone else first, and understanding there is no passion to be found in playing small. We don't do it because it's fun and easy. We do it because it's hard and it's necessary. but it's still fun. And when it all comes together, it is glorious. A championship is a destination. Excellence is a journey. We are the Kansas City Royals. This is our journey.
That video always gets me going. But what I mainly want to talk about is kind of my role and the fun of giveaway items. That's one of the main things that I do is all the bobbleheads, t-shirts, jerseys, and I'll kind of tell you how bobblehead is made here in a second. But these are some examples of some of the giveaway items that I've made in the past. Some, t-shirts, jerseys, bobbleheads, baseball caps. Those are kind of the giveaway items that work, that are popular. And then from there, we look at what dates that we have holidays on. So like the barbecue spatula was for Father's Day. Often in September, we do a cold weather item. So we did mittens one year. We've done coffee mugs. We've done kids' growth charts. And then at the end of the presentation, I'll kind of show you some of the other giveaway items that we've done. But for me, the most intricate process is the bobblehead process. It takes about 4 months from start to finish. This is a bobblehead I made a couple of years ago of George Brett, Royals Hall of Famer, on a certain incident that was against the Yankees. And this is a famous clip. And I'm going to remind everyone of the clip. If you're a Yankees fan, you probably know this incident.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. That's gone. I've never seen this. I never have either. I don't know what they're measuring. They might be going to call George Brett out. Well, he is. He's out. Yes, sir. Brett is out. Look at this. Brett is out. And Demon Man. He is out and having to be forcibly restrained.
So that's an iconic George Brett moment. So we had an anniversary year and we recreated that angry moment of him running out of the dugout. So we first started with a bunch of photos. So I work with bobblehead companies and I send them a bunch of photos of the pose that we want to go with. So as you see, it's him running out of the dugout with his arms flailing. Then they make a sculpt, a clay sculpt. And then we go through rounds of edits and I get photos, including just his head, which is kind of creepy and weird, but we work on exact details. So for me, it's kind of a work of art, especially a bobblehead like this, where I'm recreating a moment in time. So I look at all the details in terms of his facial expression, any accessories that he has on, wristbands, a necklace, the color of his hair, the eye color, uniform components, all that. So for me, the hard part in this one was his facial expression between like being really happy as opposed to angry. So I wanted the more angry look. So you see that in kind of his wrinkly face, his mouth. It was kind of some back and forth, angry versus happy. So we did that. His hair is kind of coming back. So you go through the clay sculpt first. And then from there, on the bottom left now, is the flat art. So we go into details of his uniform, colors, what's the text on the base, Royals logos that we're using, his uniform number, all that. We make sure that's correct. And then we go to paint. And then that's a whole nother process where you go through edits. If you look, he had, in this paint version, he had brown hair, which is incorrect. And they didn't paint his shoelaces. His shoes were painted black, and that's incorrect. They should be blue. Some details like that. There's always edits to kind of go back and forth. Rarely does it all end up perfect in the first round. So you go through edits of paint. And then from there, I get a physical sample. I approve that, and then we go into full production, and you see the final piece in the bottom right. So again, this process is about 4 months long. But it's really cool. The kind of interesting part is the clay. You know, when he's not painted yet, it's kind of lifeless. It's you're working on the pose and some of the details. And then the best part is when they go to paint, then he really comes to life, and you can really see and visualize the bobblehead a little bit more. But then you go through edits on there, and then you get the actual piece. So, and then it takes usually a couple months to produce the bobbleheads, about a month to get them shipped to Kansas City, and then we actually hand them out. So usually in the winter, I'm creating all these giveaway items. So in December, January, February, I'm working on these items that we then hand out in June, July, and August. So my mind is always about 4 to 5 months kind of ahead of schedule. So that's the bobblehead process. Next time you get a giveaway item, just realize the amount of time and detail that goes into that piece.
Matt, I have a question for you. Yeah. So you mentioned the clay sculpts. Do you have a collection of these unpainted head sculpts somewhere in your office?
So actually I don't. So all of these are photos that I see. So I don't actually see the actual piece until it gets painted. So I do not have just the blank sculpts because those are photos I get from the factory. So I don't actually see it in person until it gets painted. So that would be funny though if I had those, but so I have samples of painted pieces that are incorrect, but that's it.
And another question, how large is your team? So are there a bunch of you checking work? I can imagine, missing painted shoelaces seems like such a small piece that could be overlooked. So do you have a team that works with you, or is the onus kind of on you?
So the onus is on me, but I do have other eyeballs looking at it. So I show it to other people within the marketing department. I'm the only one that handles giveaway items. So it is ultimately my responsibility, but I do have others within the marketing department looking at this as well to make sure that I'm not missing something, because the worst case scenario for us is that a logo is incorrect, there's something misspelled. For me, the hardest part is getting his skin color correct, the hair color correct, and you want those details to be pretty spot on. So those are kind of some things we go back and forth on. And then the bobblehead company also helps me because they specialize in creating these items, so they can kind of steer me in the right direction of a pose that won't break necessarily, or I can go back in records, and if we've done a George Brett bobblehead 5 years ago, they can tell me what skin color we used for that, what hair color we used for that. So they're also a handy resource for me.
And it looks like we have questions coming through the chat that I'll ask you. And if you're going to cover it as you move on the presentation, we can hold off. But so what has that, the one that you just showed us, the Yankees confrontation, is that your most popular bobblehead, or maybe just your favorite?
That's one of my favorites. Anytime that we can replicate a moment in time is really cool. I mean, we've done some just generic bobbleheads of a pitcher pitching or a hitter hitting. But when you're replicating an iconic moment like that in Royals history with the best Royals player, in our history, that one was really cool. And the cool part to me is then showing the person their bobblehead. So I got to show George Brett his bobblehead, crossing my fingers, hoping that he would like it, that he wouldn't say this doesn't look like me. So we shot a video of revealing it to him, and he loved it. He thought it looked like him. He thought it was really cool. And so I was like, whew, thank God, so it's kind of cool to see the players really enjoy their piece. I mean, these are major league players, and they geek out on getting their own bobblehead. So it is kind of a childlike reaction. So it is really cool to see all that.
That's so awesome.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites.
And another question that just came through, when you give out the bobbleheads, do they kind of come with their own little card or backstory explaining it? If it is, a specific moment in time, does it kind of come with a little explanation? Yeah,
that's great. That's a good question. So they all come in the box, and we get to do artwork on the box. So each box has custom artwork. So we're able to write a little description on the box. We showed a photo of this actual moment on the box to kind of explain it and give it context. We usually put the sponsor logo on the box as well. So the packaging is really another opportunity for us to do creative and do some branding.
Cool. And I know we have a lot to cover, so I want to let you keep going.
Yeah, so I'm going to switch gears briefly. We'll kind of go back to giveaways, but the other part of my job are special events that we do. And these are just some of the logos. So this isn't as cool to see, but just some of the logos of the events that I do. So I kind of handle a lot of the theme nights in the ballpark that we do on our concourse. Usually a lot of these are pregame, encourages people to come early, enjoy an event on the concourse. And then once the game starts, we want people focused on the action on the field. So usually these events kind of wrap up around that time, and then fans get to enjoy the game. But we do kids events, dog events, student nights, Hispanic Heritage, Star Wars Day is probably my favorite day. So it's kind of some cool events that we do. So that's the other part of my job, is kind of planning and executing these theme nights. And then these are, each year we do a logo, a marketing slogan, basically. And so these are examples of some of the slogans that we've done over the last 5 years. So this is also something that we do in the off season, is figure out what's kind of the mantra of the team for the next year. So we've done, last year it was Always Royal. We've done Come to Play, Be Royal, Forever Royal. And sometimes a logo and a slogan works so well, we do it for a couple years. Uh-oh, that's me. Sorry.
That's John.
Let's end that. I didn't realize we were play again. And so each year we create a different slogan, Raised Royal. We like to use the word royal within the slogan. And then we were in the postseason, we did the slogan, Take the Crown. So this is just an example. Each year we come up with a different marketing slogan and really kind of play around that. The slogan is supposed to play to both the team and the fan base. So it's supposed to talk to both sides. And then this is a commercial from 2 years ago, 2019, because 2020 was such an odd year, for Always Royal. So this kind of gives you a feel of what Always Royal means. So we center our advertising around the marketing slogan every year. And another thing that we do are billboards, kind of really cool, different billboards around town. So the top left, the Solaire Power, is using some cool LED technology to really make it pop. The bottom right, we have a streetcar in Kansas City. We wrapped the streetcar in our branding as well at the start of the season. So we usually do something at the beginning of the year to make a buzz and a splash, both social media, buzz around town for people to go see. Some other billboards that we've done, we really try to think outside the box. This is the same billboard during the day versus night. So this is black light technology. So it's really cool. During the day, it kind of looks like one thing, and then at night, it looks something completely different kind of, and it really pops. So that was really cool. We did that a couple of years ago. And then these are 4 different billboards that we've done over the course of 4 separate years. And I'll just walk through these real quick because I just think they're so cool. The top left are 2 billboards that play off of each other. They're on either side of the highway, and it's a pitcher throwing to a catcher. So that was kind of cool. The top right, we literally put a billboard on fire or made it look like it was on fire. And so there's a player running and stealing a base, and they're going so fast that they're, burning up the billboard. That was really cool. The bottom left, we had a player sliding into second base, and he's ripping the billboard. A really cool effect. And then the bottom right is a player dumping Gatorade on someone, and this billboard was much lower to the ground. And below it was a green space that fans could come up, take a photo, and it looked like they were getting Gatorade dumped on them by this player. So this was really popular. It did really well on social media where people were able to interact with the billboard. And then this is my last slide. We've also done murals around town, so more kind of grassroots marketing. And we've applied our marketing slogan to this, and we've hired local artists to paint murals in the suburbs, downtown, that hopefully will last a long time. So again, some grassroots kind of marketing that we've done. So that's my little presentation. And before I do the stadium tour, I want to show you some of the giveaway items. And I know it's a little dark, but this is one that we're going to do next year. We're always trying to think outside the box with baubles. So this base is in the shape of kind of a sun, and then it lights up. So there's a light in here. If you can kind of get the effect, you can kind of see it, but it's a light up base bobblehead for a player with the last name Soler. So we play off solar power a lot. So this one's really cool. Last year we did a player with their dog. So again, we're trying to think outside the box with our baubles. And the best part for me is the dog's head also bobbles as well.
Cute.
This player is really well known to like dogs. This is his dog, Sadie. They're popular on social media. And so we did a bobblehead with the player and his dog, which is really cute. I've done replica trophies before. This is from 1985, the World Series replica trophy. A coffee mug. This is one we're doing next year. The player and a bulldozer. So his name is Hunter Dozier, and his nickname is the Bulldozer. So I did a bobblehead of the player and a bulldozer, which is kind of fun. So again, we're trying to get creative with baubles rather than just a pitching pose, a hitting pose, finding ways to really make it stand out. This is a lady's cap, a metal front, and then royal script in gold. This is a cooler that we did, a 6-pack cooler for our 90s night. And so we themed the cooler to kind of 90s design. So a lot of neon colors, shapes. This Royals logo is from the 90s. It's sponsored by Blue Moon. So, and you can see some oranges around it. So we integrate sponsors into these. So this one goes kind of against the Royals brand. You know, orange isn't a part of our brand, but we still kind of made it work, especially the 90s. A really popular giveaway item, which is kind of surprising being in Kansas City, was a Hawaiian shirt. We did one last year. We're going to do one next year. This is kind of the pattern. I mean, you can get funky and wild and weird with Hawaiian shirts. So this is a Royals Hawaiian shirt that I've done. So me, again, working with our graphic designer to create the print. This is a step and repeat design. I work with our sponsorship department. This is sponsored by Miller Lite. And then I work with the giveaway company to figure out the material of the shirt. We go through sampling to make sure that the colors are correct. So all of these are kind of a process and working with various departments.
Matt, while I know that you also want to show us parts of the stadium, and so I want to ask you a question. I can't imagine how you do all this as a one-person team. I mean, from you know, an idea to concept to executing them all, you have mixed media, you have all these different giveaways, you have events. So I'm just curious, this is kind of a huge question, but like, how do you do it? I guess is my question.
Yeah. Attention to detail, spreadsheets. So each year we do about 25 different giveaway items. So really in the off season in January, February, March, it's working with those vendors and creating these samples. And so it's spreadsheets of organizing it all, figuring out where I am in the process, where approvals are at, artwork is at, are we in production, shipping schedules, all that. So it's a lot of work, but it's fun to make these items. And for me, the coolest part is seeing a fan get the item, seeing a kid get a bobblehead, or seeing someone get this oven mitt, and then using it and enjoying it. So for me, it's seeing the item out in the public. And when I go to the grocery store, or when I go to a concert or go to a bar, they're wearing an item, they have a bag that I created. That's kind of the cool part for me.
That's so awesome. And so I know we're now on the move, so it would be great if you could just kind of walk everybody who's with us, just kind of where you are, and then how you're going to make your way to another part of the stadium.
Yep, so I'm kind of at home plate now, and I'm going to go down one level and we'll go outside so you can get a better sense of the field. This stadium fits or seats about 40,000 fans.
Wow.
Which is kind of one of the smaller ballparks, but we typically average around 20,000 fans. So typically the ballpark is about half full each game.
Before COVID, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah, we had no fans in the ballpark this year.
Right. And while we're on the move, we have some additional questions regarding the bobbleheads. So if you are
Ooh, that's a spider. The stadium is in full off-season mode, so it's actually kind of weird and eerie when there's no fans here. It's really quiet, calm, and again, it's kind of a cold, cloudy day here. But what we're known for in this ballpark is our scoreboard. The crown scoreboard is kind of iconic with the lighting on either side. It's a very symmetrical ballpark, and then the fountains. So it's hard to see, and the fountains have been drained, but by the scoreboard are fountains that will flow down, and then in between innings, they'll pump them up. But it's really pretty. I'm sure if you've seen a game on TV, you might have seen our fountains. Kansas City is kind of iconic for fountains. Weird stat, we have the second most fountains in the world. Rome is first, and then Kansas City is second. So
wow.
who counted all the fountains or figured that out, but that's been a longstanding thing in Kansas City. We're proud of our fountains here. So
Matt, I have another question for you. So obviously, as we mentioned, you've been with the Kansas City Royals for 10 years, and I'm not sure now, are you working in the stadium? And if you're not, if just kind of walking through that journey, like how have you ebbed and flowed with the Kansas City Royals?
Yeah, so I started out in the ticket sales department. I did that for about 1.5 years, and then I moved into the marketing department, and I've been in marketing for most of my time here in a couple of different roles. But this year was challenging. I am still working from home. When we had games here this year, I was not here. I was not at games. Usually I am working all the home games. But without fans in the ballpark, I mean, my job is mainly dependent upon fans being here. So really, they tried to keep it to bare bones, essential staff. And without fans, I just stayed at home. So I watched games at home this year like everybody else and just made it work. But we're hopeful that we'll have fans in some capacity next season, that we'll have giveaways next year, events next year, and can be back. But our offices are at the ballpark. So I am here usually every day. I don't travel with the team. And so when the team is on the road, I still come in to the office. I come to the ballpark, and I kind of plan for the next time that the team is going to be on the road. So it's actually a big key time for me is the prep time, emails, meetings when the team is on the road, because when they're at home, it becomes more activations, more out and about in the ballpark, more of an active job. And I do love that part of it, is that half of the job is the desk job. The other half is walking around the ballpark, interacting with fans, with guests, with vendors to make things work.
That's awesome.
I'm going to kind of move here, and I'm going to also mask up too, since I forgot about that.
We love to see that. We love to see that.
Royals branded mask.
Actually, there are some questions that are just a little bit of, continuing that bobblehead promo conversation. So are people able to purchase the bobbleheads or is it really just a giveaway? You got to be in the stadium, you got to be at a game.
Shoot, you cut out there. I missed you. Can you repeat that?
Oh, yeah, of course. Sorry, Matt. So we just have some questions in the chat that are referring to the bobbleheads again. So are people able to purchase bobbleheads, or is it really, you got to be in the stadium, you got to come to a game, and that's the only way to get it?
So that's a great question. My giveaways, my bobbleheads, hopefully you can still hear me.
I can, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, so my giveaways ballpark. So you have to physically be here. They do sell separate bobbleheads in our team store. So you can buy different bobbleheads, the retail bobbleheads, but the ones I make and produce, those you physically have to be here. Earlier, you're going to spend more money. So you're going to go to the team store, you're going to have more food, more drinks. So really kind of the point of giveaways are not only to extend the brand, but to bring in ticket sales, to bring in more revenue on the food and beverage side.
Makes sense. And obviously we've moved. So we were on, close to the field. And so you made your way, is that just, staff access, or were you just kind of walking around the stadium as if you were, a patron?
It was staff access. So I went down a stairwell. We are now on the bottom floor, so you can't go any lower than this. This is the level of the clubhouse, and then also the interview room. So I'm standing in the interview room right now. So this is where the post-game conferences happen with our manager. Anytime there's a press conference of signing a player or anything like that happens in this room. So usually there's a bunch of chairs here as well for the press, but this year they're all Zoom calls. So we had a big screen on here instead. So usually there's a table, the manager will sit right up there. The podium is usually for our VP of communications. He runs the press conferences, but we're on the bottom floor, and this is our kind of media interview room. So it's not, it's just kind of a bland room, but usually they'll have something on the screen. They'll have cameras where I'm standing. The press will be kind of sitting right here, and then they'll be interviewing somebody on that little stage.
So Matt, we've obviously already been to, 3 different parts of the stadium, and you being in your role have access to all these things. So I'm sure there are a bunch, we've already touched on a few, but what would you say is your favorite part about working for the Kansas City Royals?
Well, the Royals are my hometown team. I grew up a fan. I was a Royals fan as a kid. I grew up in Kansas City. So to be part now is really cool. But it really is the impact that we get to make from a community standpoint. We are ultimately, and so to let fans have a fun time is a really meaningful impact that we get to have. And then working on a beautiful ballpark, and an awesome ballpark. We renovated the ballpark about 10 years ago, so it's pretty up to date. I'm now getting in an elevator, so hopefully it hangs.
Okay, it does look like we may lose Matt in the elevator, but he'll join right back. And I also thought it would be a great opportunity to remind everybody who's watching that not only is Matt really active with us and as a volunteer, but he's also already participated in an alumni conversation, which is an initiative that SPS Alumni Relations launched, where students get to have one-on-one conversations with alumni, and they get to unearth their personal stories, their professional journeys, and also allow students to ask questions. So it's really a great way for our students at the School of Professional Studies to be able to speak with all of our alumni. And it looks like we got Matt back. Perfect.
Clearly the elevator screwed with me. All right, sorry everybody. I'm out now the press box level. However, this door is locked, so I apologize, but the press box is in here. So this is where the writing press sit. It's not that kind of cool. There's just a bunch of chairs and seats. There's a cafeteria in here as well. You can see the words press box here. We feed the press every day. This is actually also where I come up and eat. So if I'm working a game, I'm able to come eat up here at night. My diet in the summer consists of a lot of hot dogs, nachos, peanuts, pretzels, all that. But they still have salads here and some healthier options too. So press box, cafeteria, the writing press. The TV and radio broadcasts are on a floor below, and they're just kind of smaller compartment rooms for the TV home and away and the radio home and away. So on this floor, I'm kind of in the lobby area, but we have framed photos of Sports Illustrated covers that the Royals have been on. And then across the way is actually the Royals offices.
And so would that be your, staff offices?
Yeah, so I will probably walk.
And while you do it, if you don't mind me asking, so we have another question where, you've been working in sports. It feels like it's always been kind of a dream and a passion for you. So do you have any advice for any of our viewers who, they want to work in sports, or maybe even particularly baseball? But I know we have a lot of fans of the sports in general here as well.
Yeah, I would say
offices. Go ahead.
Okay. For me, it was internships, and that's what I loved about NYU were the internship opportunities to really build my resume, to be able to interview well. But it's really starting, I mean, like a lot of careers, starting with an internship and working your way up. There are so many different ways to work in sports also. So there's more than just a professional team. There's minor league sports, college sports. Our offices are also really dark right now because it's the off season. It's a Saturday, but there's a Royals logo right there. Kind of office, but yeah, there's high school sports, college sports, there's nonprofits, there's TV, there's merchandise, there's consulting. There's more to it than just working at the Yankees, the Mets, the Jets, the Royals, the Chiefs. There's so many different ways to be involved in sports. So keep your mind open, be willing to travel, and work hard, and you just need one yes. So.
And so Matt, if you can hear me.
We are right across from the Chiefs Stadium. Yeah, there we go. Wow. So the Royals and the Chiefs share a parking lot. So we are right next to each other. So our offices look into the parking lot, and we have really nice views of the Chiefs Stadium. So no one has a field view in our office, but we do have a nice view of Arrowhead Stadium. So I get to look at that. The Chiefs are away this weekend, so they don't have a home game, but yeah, we share a parking lot. So we can never have a game on the same day because of the parking situation.
Which, as you know, for us in New York, we kind of have a feel for that with our Jets and our Giants sharing MetLife, but sharing a parking lot, two different sports feels like a whole different animal. We have another question in the chat, and so kind of speaking to you having to have all of these ideas in your head. Do you ever do any crowdsourcing, or do fans ever submit ideas for bobbleheads or other items?
We do, yeah, that's a good question. So we do a big kind of brainstorming session within the marketing department. I look at what other teams do. I talk to the giveaway vendors. I see what our schedule is like. And then we often get ideas from fans as well. So it's kind of a compilation of taking all these different things into effect and figuring out what do the fans want, because ultimately that's really what's important for us. So yeah, we get fan feedback. But in general, it's a lot of kind of the same ideas, and we're pretty risk averse overall in terms of giveaways. So we don't do anything that crazy. The minor league teams are really the chance to do some weird, wacky, kind of fun, crazy ideas. But we do get fan feedback. We look at what other teams do. We see what industry trends are. We see if we have a game on 4th of July, we'll do a patriotic item. If we have a game, on Mother's Day, we'll do something. So we look at the holidays, we look at the events that we do stuff. If there's, an anniversary coming up, if there's someone's going to get, a milestone coming up, we look at those elements. So it really is this compilation of looking at all these elements to figure out what is going to work for next year.
Yeah. And so obviously, given COVID, you've touched on it a few times, things are quite different for you, for the team, for everybody. And so before COVID, when you get to have a regular game day, what does that day typically look like for you?
Yeah, so typically I come in late morning, which is kind of nice. And it's kind of emails and meetings in the early afternoon. And then around 3 o'clock or so, I'm out and about in the ballpark, getting things ready. For us, kind of go time is when gates open. So gates open about 2 hours before first pitch. So really we have to be ready and set by then. So usually around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, I'm out in the ballpark getting things set up, whether it's a giveaway item that we're handing out, getting volunteers in to help pass those out, or if we have an event going on, getting the vendors set up, tables, chairs, all that, getting everything ready to go come gates open, usually around 5 o'clock. And then once gates open at 5 o'clock, it's go time. So I compare it often to like a theater. Everything is, you have to get ready until the house doors open. And then from there, it's all execution at that point. And then, so it's running around the ballpark, putting out fires, managing the process, making sure everything's going okay from about 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock. Usually the game starts around 7 o'clock, and then it's kind of wrapping things up. And typically my work is done around 8 o'clock at night. And at that point, I can either go home or I can stay and watch the game. And it's kind of, for me, a combo. Depending on the weather, the score, what's going on the next day, I'll stay for the game and kind of watch, or I'll just go home, call it a night, and then I'm back here the next day. So it's kind of an interesting schedule. It's a lot of nights. It's a lot of weekends. If we have a home game on 4th of July, I'm working on 4th of July. But that's just the nature of working in sports. It is, when the games are nights, weekends, holidays. So it comes with the territory.
And I know we're close to time, so I want to ask you 2 quick questions. Larry wants to know if you ever get to interact with the players.
Yeah, that's a good question. Often no, actually. That's one of the big misperceptions about my job. I'm not buddy-buddy with the players. I'm never in the locker room. I'm rarely on the field itself. They keep the baseball side and the business side pretty separate. So the only time I do work with the players is for commercial shoots, video shoots, showing them a bobblehead, that sort of thing. So no, I don't know the players that well. So one of the big perceptions.
And I'll ask you one last question. It's pretty deep. Someone wants to know, do you have your own bobblehead?
I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Someone wants to know if you have your own bobblehead.
I don't. No, that needs to be the next step, right? I feel like working in bobbleheads every day, I need my own. But I don't want to make my own. So I would need someone to make it for me. But yeah, I don't have my own.
Everybody be on the lookout for the Matt Schulte bobblehead coming 2021. Matt, we are just at about time, and I just want to thank you so much for being able to take us to see so many different places in the stadium and talking us through your, what sounds like a 6-person job, and somehow you're able to do it all on your own. So I really just want to thank you so much, and thank everybody who was able to join us for some really great questions. And I'm just so thankful, Matt. Thanks so much.
No, you're welcome. And just one more quick thing to point out is the cool kind of unique contrast between the office, which is right here, and then just across the walkway is the ballpark. So it's this kind of really cool dynamic of, there's a lot of back and forth of an office space and a ballpark kind of right next to each other. So for me, it's a lot of going back and forth, but it's kind of cool. I mean, right now you're in an office, you don't realize you're at the ballpark, but you are. So no, you're welcome. Thanks everybody for listening and watching.
Thanks everyone. Thanks so much. And I also want to just make sure that everybody knows that we encourage you to stay connected with us, join the Violet Network, follow us on social, where you can see Matt's alumni conversation and a bunch of other things. So thanks so much for joining us, everyone, today.